Alright guys, today I'm going to explain why powerlifting is not exercise. So the goal of powerlifting, guys, is to move the most amount of weight, right? It's not necessarily to fatigue the most amount of muscle, right? And we have to define what exercise is, right? Exercise is basically something that you do in order to create an adaptive response. The goal of exercise is to fatigue motor units, basically muscle fibers, by going to muscle failure so that you can stimulate, adaptive responses. So what are these responses? Well, you have muscle strength and size, cardiovascular and metabolic efficiency, and bone and connective tissue strength. So these are all the trainable factors of functional ability that you can enhance by doing exercise, proper exercise. So high intensity strength training is a prime example of proper exercise, not powerlifting. And I need you guys to really understand the difference between these, right? Because think about the goal of powerlifting is to move the most amount of weight, right? Which means that you want to be able to have the least reliance on the muscles, right? You want to be able to move the weight on the bench without really using or fatiguing your muscles that much. Whereas with bodybuilders in proper exercise, their goal is to just stimulate the muscle. It's about what you're doing to the muscles with the weight, not what you're doing with the weight with the muscles. It's the other way around, right? It's about what you're doing with the muscles. It's about what you're doing to your muscles with the weight. That is proper exercise because we're focused on the muscle. We're not focused on moving an arbitrary amount of weight because moving an arbitrary amount of weight up and down is not really what recruits motor units. What recruits motor units is intensity of effort. This is known as Henneman's size principle. So look this up, guys. Henneman's size principle dictates that motor units are recruited sequentially based on effort. So basically, the more effort you put into something, the more motor units you end up recruiting, right? Eventually, you recruit those high order fast twitch motor units, which are basically the most susceptible for muscle growth. And those are really only recruited when you go to failure. So this is what exercise is, guys, right? Exercise is about inroad. So let's talk about the concept of inroad, guys, because inroad is one of the most important concepts of exercise, which powerlifting does not do. Inroad basically just means reduction of your momentary muscle strength. So when you do a set, guys, right? Like I do bicep curl, right? On the first few reps, right? Your momentary strength in that moment is very high, right? Because, you haven't really fatigued the muscle that much. So your momentary strength in the moment is very high. But as you continue to do more reps, right? And reach failure, your momentary muscle strength decreases, right? So when you're about to achieve failure, your muscles are so weak, the momentary strength in that moment is incredibly weak. This reduction of strength when you take a set to failure is the entire concept of exercise. And this is the concept that's known as inroad, right? You guys hear me say inroad a lot. When I mean inroad muscles, I basically mean reducing the muscle's ability to produce force. Basically, you're reducing the momentary strength of that muscle. So it's about using the muscle to fatigue. It's about using the weight to fatigue the muscles rather than using the muscles to move the weight, right? Because if you look at a lot of athletes, if you look at powerlifters, their goal is to perform skills with the least reliance on the body. When I'm doing my gymnastics skills, right? When I'm doing like a bunch of flips in the air and doing like a bunch of crazy things in the air with my gymnastics, I'm trying to actually not really use my body that much. I'm trying to finesse the system. I'm trying to use technique and skill in order to allow me to do these flips in the air with the least reliance on my muscles, with the least reliance on my body, so I don't have to take so much stamina up, right? That's what you want, right? You want to be able to do an entire gymnastics routine without being out of breath, right? And that requires skill. That requires neurological skill that basically trains your body to not have to rely on the muscles as much. Because when you rely too much on the muscles, when you do your skills in gymnastics, you're going to end up getting tired very fast. But when it comes to exercise, the goal is opposite. The goal of exercise is just to fatigue muscle. It's literally just to inroad and basically reduce the momentary strength to almost zero. Because you have to keep in mind, guys, if our muscles are unable to produce any force, with our bodies, we see that as an incredible threat, right? Because not being able to move your muscles or being able to reduce your muscles' ability to produce force is very detrimental on the human species, right? Because movement is what allows us to get food and prevent us from becoming food. So imagine you're getting chased by a tiger and you're not able to walk, or you're not able to move your legs because they're like so fatigued and inroaded, your muscles are going to do everything it can to build stronger legs, right? Because it thought it almost died. When you take your body to true muscle failure, your body thought it almost died from an evolutionary standpoint. So of course your body's going to try everything it can to grow muscle. But when you're doing powerlifting, you're not doing that. Yes, maybe lifting a 315 might be a good demonstration of strength, but it's not a good measurement of strength because there's a lot of skill involved in benching 315, right? If you want to be able to bench 315, you have to have a lot of skill, not just strength. You guys see? So, when it comes to exercise, that's why powerlifting is not exercise, because it doesn't really safely inroad muscle. It doesn't really safely fatigue muscle as effectively as exercise does, which is proper strength training, right? Doing a repetition cadence is very slow and just focusing on fatiguing the muscles with weight. So that's what you guys have to keep in mind, guys, when it comes to exercise. And this is a very important concept to understand because a lot of people, nonchalantly just throw out the term exercise without really understanding what it means. But this is what exercise really means, guys. It's about inroading muscle in order to stimulate an adaptive response. This is the whole purpose of exercise. And you can really only do that when you take your muscles to its utmost limit by training to muscle failure.